Hey you guys, I hope everybody's doing very good out there in YouTube world. So today we are going to do finally another lesson video. So I've been wanting to do this one for a while. So what we're going to cover is how to wheelie obstacles, or why you would even want to wheelie obstacles. So it's going to be a fun one, so make sure you watch it to the end. So right on, let's get started. So why on earth would you guys want to wheelie obstacles? That kind of sounds more like a stunt, doesn't it? But I guess in a way it is, but I'll kind of go over why I personally do it. And then you guys can just, if you can take something from it and maybe find something useful, that's great. But everybody's got their own way of doing things. But what I like to do, I like to keep the front end light. So if you're going over, like you can see some rocks here, like on the bit of a gnarly hill coming up here, but rather than plowing into all this with the front tire, you know, like really heavy on the front tire, you're gonna, you know, I put it into a bit of a wheelie. I'll get a few clips here and show you what I mean. But another example would be like big mud puddles, you know, like oftentimes I'll splice in a clip. Not too long ago on my big XR, I was wheeling through some puddles, and you'd want to just keep the front end light with those puddles, because you've seen guys go into those puddles and then it turns out to be really deep and then you just go over the bars. But guiding that front tire through the obstacles is more important than not doing anything with it, because it always goes back to, for me, it always goes back to growing up in my little town here. We had train tracks and they crossed the road at like about 45 degrees. So I was forever seeing people on their bicycles, you know, hitting the tracks, and especially when they're wet. And then it just throws them right on their head, because of course the front tire just catches the train track and follows it, of course. So that's always stuck in my mind, and then I've just transferred it over the years to motorcycles. And you know, if you can keep that front end a little light over the obstacles, that's going to help you guide the bike through it. But you know, it takes a little bit of know-how to do it, so I'll break it down here and get a couple clips. So you can see here, you guys, when it's easier to carry those wheelies with a little bit of speed too. I didn't actually go to the very bottom down there. This hill's quite long, but I wanted to use this one as an example because I do come up this almost every day when I'm going, you know, up to my favorite area there. Sorry if the camera's close, I'm doing this handheld, so. But yeah, I mean, you can see the sharp edges on the rocks. You guys know when you plow into those with the front tire, especially on a bigger bike like my XR, that all that weight's going on the front tire, and it's hard on rims, and that's how you get pinch flats and stuff. So also the Enduro bikes, they always generally got a little softer suspension, so it's easier to carry those wheelies, and the rear tire kind of just soaks it up while you're wheeling. So let's do a few more examples here. So here's another fun section I like to wheelie, you guys, and this is a little more motocross style, like whoop-de-doos almost, but you can see there's kind of 3 whoop-de-doos in a row there, and I like to get the front tire up before those, and then you can kind of just let the rear wheel drop down in and kind of just follow the lay of the land, I guess you could say. So I'll take a run at that and then I'll show you what I mean. See what I mean, how it kind of smooths things out when we're going a little faster. So you guys, I should probably mention, like, wheeling obstacles when you're more at speed, like when you're going faster, is more of a technique to, if you want to keep your momentum up, you know, you don't want to have to slow down to plow into the rocks or whatever. So if you just carry the front end over the rocks, then you're just, you know, the back end's just kind of going to follow you. So like those rocks here are a really good example where I always like to come flying up the road, you know, at a good clip, and then these rocks are quite large. You know, if you're to plow into them with your front tire, it's not ideal. That's how you get pinch flats. But if you know, you just put the front tire, loft it a little bit, and then carry it over the obstacles, and it's much easier on your bike and helps you maintain momentum. So The wheelie over obstacle thing is more of there's two scenarios for it. You can wheelie over, like if you're going over smaller logs, I guess. If they're wet, you're going to want to put the front tire over it. So, you know, like I was saying, you don't want it to wash out on you, but that's more of the slow speed side of it. This is more the, when you're trying to carry your momentum fast down the trail and you see some debris on the road or some loose cobble, or those round rocks are really notorious for knocking out your front tire. This way you can kind of just make the front end a little lighter and just kind of dance it through there, if that makes sense. So I got a couple clips here. See how you just wheelie over those, it just smooths them right out. See how much I use those skid turns too. I think that was episode two episodes ago, I think. Here's another scenario, you guys, that, like, for instance, if you wanted to get across these ruts sideways, you know, like some of them are pretty deep here, and you could just, you know, simply go slow and it would be like, you know, you'd bounce pretty good trying to get through those. But, you know, if you're confident, don't do anything you're not confident at, but if you're confident enough, then you can just put it into a little wheelie and kind of just make sure, as long as the front end makes it over, you're pretty good. I'll show you what I mean here. So you can see in a scenario like that, you guys, how that's very helpful. Like, you know, that's a good size rut. That's, you know, I'll put the camera down in there. That's probably a foot deep or more. So if you were to hit that going slow, you'd probably go over the bars, to be honest. But if you're just confident and you get that front tire in the air and you just lighten it up a little bit, it just goes over with actually, like, quite easily. So yeah, I hope that helps you guys. So I guess, you guys, to summarize the wheeling obstacles, like for me, it's all about keeping that front end in control, because I guess you could say your motorcycle's kind of like a train, like the front end leads the back. So, you know, if the front end washes out, then there's no saving that most of the time. But if you can keep that front end light, and then the back end will almost always, it might bounce or ricochet off some rocks or bounce over a log or whatever, but it's almost always going to track straight as long as the front end makes it. So 9 times out of 10, I'll wheelie stuff unless something's really sketchy or it's not a good time to do it. But that's just how I like to do things. So I hope some of those clips help you guys out. Definitely, I've got at least 15 plus videos already done on lessons, so you guys should jump in the playlists and look for the one that's called Learn to Ride Dirt Bikes. There's a bit of everything in there for everyone. There's one on dual sports. I think it's episode 5 or 6. I'll drop a card up here in the corner. And that's more of a beginner novice one. Other than that, I've tried to cover pretty much everything, and I've definitely got some more ideas for the future. So if you guys have ideas, definitely drop some ideas in the comments, and I'll see if I can get to those. But right on, you guys, that's going to do it for this one. Definitely a thumbs up also doesn't hurt. And if you're new to my channel, hit this thing, because it doesn't cost you a single penny, but it sure helps out my channel. So I will see you guys on the very next video. Right on, bye.